Hi everyone! Today I have a quick reading journal update video for you. We're gonna set up the second quarter cover page together and have a little chat about some books I've read in the first 3 months. If you're interested to see how I set up the beginning of this journal, I'll link the first video in the reading journal series for you in the description. So my reading goal for this year is 24 books and I read 6 this far. March was a very busy month for me, so I barely had time to read at all until like the very end. But I actually just finished the first book in the Dublin Murder Squad series after filming this video, and let's just say I'm so excited to start the second one in that series now that I have a little bit more time to read again. It's a very well written murder mystery series, and what I like about it the most is that it also focuses on the character dynamics and relationships. The style reminds me a lot of the Cormoran Strike series. That's one of my all-time favorites. So if any of you been looking for something like that, I highly recommend checking out Tana French and her books. But other than that, I started this year with a pirate romance adventure called Across the Moonlit Sea. It's the first book in the Pirate Wolf series, and wow, it was such a beautifully written book. It's a little bit older, and sometimes I feel like older books have some sort of elegance that is harder to come across in some newer books. But maybe that's just me. Let me know what you think about that in the comments. But anyway, I wrote quite a lot of notes about that one. I also listed some interesting words because there were so many in this book I've never seen before. And I also took some notes of the writing style in general. This is my first reading journal ever, so it took me some time to get used to writing notes while reading. And what has worked for me the best is to first write some quick notes to my phone, and then I can kind of organize the notes and my own thoughts a little bit better before I transfer them to the reading journal. I also printed out some pictures that suited the stories in my opinion, but as I think I mentioned in the beginning setup video, I don't think I'm gonna set up a page about each book I read. So for example, next I read the Plated Prisoner series, and I just set up this one spread of all the 3 books in the series. This one was more in the fantasy romance genre. I think it had a very unique idea, and I think it's a good glow-up story for any of you who enjoy books like the Court of Thorns and Roses or the Blood and Ash series. It was nothing special for me, but I still enjoyed reading it a lot. After that, I read the first book in the Bargainer series by Laura Thalassa. By the way, I'm so sorry if I'm butchering all the names in this video. Anyway, I still didn't have time to set up a page about it, but I have all my notes written out, so I will do that soon. So that one will go on the one empty spread I left here before we'll start with the second quarter spread. The Bargainer was such a fun read, again in that same fantasy romance genre, and I highly recommend it for anyone looking for something light and super entertaining. After reading this one, I felt like I needed a small break from the romance books for a while, which is why I decided to start with the Dublin Murder Squad. But anyway, I guess that's all about the books I've read so far. And now let's start setting up the cover for the second quarter of this year. I wanted this to have a vintage plush tone theme, so I digged up some pictures, washi tapes and patterns that I thought went with the style. Some of these I've printed out myself on a sticker paper, some are from my own shop, and some are from the Notebook Therapy, Vintage Rose, and Sakura Journey collections. I list all the products you can find from somewhere in the description, but if you don't see a certain item there, chances are that I just printed it out from somewhere from the internet. By the way, I'm so happy I decided to do this by quarter instead of setting a cover for each month separately, because as you can see, I only had 3 book spreads for the first quarter. When I started this journal, I knew I won't have too much time to spend on it, and I really wanted to keep it super chill and fun for myself. So I tried not to take any pressure and just filled it whenever I had time, and it honestly kept this so fun for me, and especially using this scrapbooking style. It's been very different from me, but so fun at the same time. I hope I will have more notes from the next 3 months, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, I wanted to take this spread a little bit slower with you because personally, when I first started to experiment with this whole scrapbooking style, it felt really overwhelming and I had no idea where to start. So what I think has worked for me is to start placing some of these more neutral background elements everywhere, like scribble paper, some music notes, or just colorful craft paper. After that, it's easier to start thinking about which pictures would go with the rest of the colors and so on. So I decided that the right page here is purely for decorations, and I had so much fun setting up this spring collage here. This ended up being pretty full of everything, but I had so many beautiful things around me that I just couldn't resist. So I chose some pictures that reminded me of spring, then I added some washi tapes and stickers around all of this and was left with this spring explosion of a page. On the left side, I wanted to actually have some room to write some reading ideas for this season, so I mainly placed the decorations to the sides, leaving a little bit more room to the center. I really like this layering method of just adding different patterns and textures over each other. It can get a little bit too much very easily, which I think definitely happened here as well. But eventually I still kind of like how all of this looked in the end. I also wanted to somewhat use the same elements as we did on the right side so that everything would flow on this spread a little bit better. Then I wrote the second quarter title on this piece of colorful paper. That is also one that I've just printed on a white sticker paper. I tried to go with this romantic cursive font, actually very similar to the one I used in my April bullet journal theme. But for some reason, the titles have been the most difficult thing for me to figure out with this whole scrapbooking style. I try to kind of use the same style I use in my bullet journal, but I feel like the titles never look good on these pages and just somehow clash with the rest of the decorations. So yeah, I definitely need to figure out something else for them, but for now I think it was still good enough, and I think we got a pretty cute page here after all. So when it comes to my reading list for this season, I really want to continue with the Dublin Murder Squad series this month, and I also feel like spring would be perfect for some classic romance. So I threw this Jane Austen book in here that I actually know nothing about, so I'm super excited to just dive into this without knowing any of the characters or anything about the storyline. Then the Veronica Speedwell was one of your guys' recommendations, and it seems so very promising to me. And then I also listed some other books I'm just dying to start. Realistically speaking, I'll never be able to read all of these, but I think having this little bit smaller list here will help with the decision overload when it's time to start a new book. I would be so excited to hear about what books you've read this year. Do you have some new favorites or recommendations? Have you read some of the books I mentioned in the video? So please leave all of that to the comment section so we can have a fun book chat over there together. I think I'll keep posting these quarterly updates with the reading journal, and if you want to see some more pictures and short videos of the book note pages, I sometimes post those on Instagram and TikTok. But anyway, I guess that's all for this time. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you're having an amazing day or night wherever you are, and see you in my next one. Bye bye!